So the first step to use the power of these wonderful, marvelous large language models is to be able to connect to one. So the first one I'm going to show you is the OpenAI Authenticator node. And before we go there, I'm just going to show you how to get your keys if you don't have one already. So you pretty much want to go to the OpenAI API page. You want to make sure you're going to the right one, the right site, because there are a lot of copycats out there. So you click on the page and you can sign up if you don't already have an account. I believe you get some free credits once you make an account. I don't know if they still do that, but they used to give $15 free credits, which honestly is a lot of money, especially if you're using the 3.5 turbo. It's rather inexpensive. So once you're all set in, you want to go into API keys. So I'm going to make a new key, so you can create a new key and call it whatever you want. Once you make a key, you have one chance to copy the key. So you want to make sure you copy the key and you put it somewhere safe. And whenever you're done with the project, you can always revoke that key like you just saw me do. So I'm going to call this 10 days KNIME LLM. I'm going to click on create my secret key. Once I do this, the key is going to pop up. I'm going to cut that out of the video for security reasons, obviously. So I have copied my key. Now I'm going to come to KNIME, and you want to search for two things. You want the credentials node, and you want the OpenAI credential. Okay, I'm going to use the widgets because I like the interactivity. And you want the OpenAI Authenticator node. This Authenticator node is the star of the show today. So now this node is going to read your key from the credentials widget node. So this node, I'm gonna make it a component because I like to see the interaction. I do not like to store my credentials in a node. You know, that's a bit of a security risk, especially if you're using like the server or something. So I'll prefer to provide it each time. And then I'm going to go in here. I'm going to make sure that my component is connected. And in here, I'm just going to call them. I'm going to change this to API key. I'm going to say provide OpenAI API key. The variable name is going to be called credentials input. That's fine. And prompt user name. You can really only fill in the password. I don't want to save the password in the configuration. The credential is being passed to the output node. So I need to click on here and send it over to make sure it's outputted by the component. And so it should go from here to here. So now here, I'm going to run this and provide it my API key, which I copied before. And I'm going to apply temporarily. And then here, I'm going to indicate that the API key is provided by the credentials from that component I made, and I click on OK. And now if I run this, there are no errors, which means that I have been authenticated on the OpenAI side by providing my API key. So from here, I can use some of those cool OpenAI models, and we're going to see how to select a model in the next video. Let me just show you maybe an easier way to set this credentials. I may have over-engineered things. So you want to search again for the credentials. You can just take the credentials configuration. And then in here, you can just paste in your API key, click on OK. It's called credentials. You can, of course, change the label in the description. And then you just want to connect it here. And you do have the same effect. Sorry, you want to make sure you click on here and set the right variable because it's just called credentials from this node. And you run it and you have the right effect. Now, the reason why I showed you this way is because if you're making this for maybe a production context, you might want people to be able to put in their API key, you know, on a web app. So it's nice to know how to do it this way. But if you're just doing something local, then this way is fine. It's more straightforward. So those are two ways that you can easily set your key and authenticate against the OpenAI services. And that's the end of this video. I will see you in the next one. Thank you and goodbye.